Where's Leo in your birth chart? Jupiter's about to move into Leo, and this is a big deal. So I want to talk a little bit about what you might expect, what you can prepare for based on where Leo falls in your chart. And I'm going to keep it so for real with you. I am not about to say, oh, main character energy, best year ever, everybody's going to get rich. Because trust me, as much as I wish astrology worked like that, it just doesn't. Jupiter is an incredible benefic planet. It wants to amplify whatever it touches, and usually for our benefit. However, sometimes Jupiter has to amplify the stuff that isn't working first to actually make the changes we need to make in order to welcome in whatever kind of abundance or gifts it's ultimately going to bring. And in the sign of Leo, yeah, we get that main character energy, we get confidence, we get authenticity, but we also have to consider any of the wounds affecting the Leo archetype. Think like performance-based love, over-reliance on external validation, maybe even a fear of being seen. But we're getting into some of the juiciest houses here, so I want to jump in. If you have Leo falling in your 7th house, meaning you are most likely an Aquarius rising. Although I do use Placidus, so there is that nuance there. 7th house, the house of partnership, of mirroring. It's the house of relationships and of collaboration. People talk a lot about it being the house of marriage, but it's also so much deeper than that. This is the part of us that we meet in the context of relationship of any kind. So some of you might experience that literal interpretation, right? There could be a new partnership, somebody that you meet. This could also point to certain changes within your existing relationships. Perhaps you're giving yourself more permission to take up space, or becoming aware of the ways that you have relied on external validation that actually aren't working for you. There is this charismatic kind of vibe to having Jupiter in your 7th house. People are drawn to you. If you do any type of 7th house one-on-one work with people, maybe you're a therapist or an astrologer or a coach of some kind, you might experience a surge of clientele. And as somebody who is currently wrapping up Jupiter through my 7th, I will tell you that my calendar, my one-on-one sessions and the clients I get to work with regularly, more poppin' than it's ever been. And as my calendar got more full, it also became a lot more clear to me how I needed to set better boundaries to protect myself. I can't answer every message right away. I can't go over our time by more than 30 minutes. These were changes that were really, really hard for me to make at the beginning of this transit, but are now so much more automatic for me because I can see how having these boundaries in place actually allows me to show up authentically rather than try to wait for you to see me and validate me and pour way too much out of myself in every interaction. It's not sustainable. But I had to do that shadow work in order to allow for this change to happen, and now in order to maintain it. This is a time to become extremely honest with yourself about what's working and what's not working. This transit is an incredible opportunity for you guys to learn that partnership and being seen can so deeply strengthen your authenticity and your sense of self rather than detract from it and become about the other person or how you need them to make you feel. All right, if you have Leo in your 8th house, meaning you are most likely a Capricorn rising, though of course we've got that nuance there. First of all, hi, I'm right there with you. And I'm actually very excited for it, which I know is controversial because the 8th house makes people feel uncomfy. The 8th house is all things shadowy and taboo. It is power dynamics. It is dependency. It's all of the deeper layers to intimacy. And I think it can really rule over the way that we interact with our own personal power and agency. What do we do to maintain a sense of control? And it's true, the 8th house does often contain a lot of shadowy material. It's the house of transformation. It's the house of going into the underworld and extracting the gifts and the wisdom. Anything transiting through the 8th house brings up my favorite phrase, the darker the dark, the lighter the light. I fully believe that. We get to make a choice how much we want to show up and interact with it. And I think that's what this transit is really highlighting for us. And if you're trying to take any shortcuts or stay comfortable, that's not what this time is for. This is a time to enthusiastically and excitedly embrace any opportunities to explore your own shadow. Confront your own fears. What is it that's so scary for you about vulnerability? And if you have any placements in Leo in the 8th house, I already know we're talking about some childhood wounds. What are the ways you're still allowing those wounds to dictate how you show up? One of the coolest things about the 8th house is it is where we might receive incredible blessings somehow, whether it's through some sort of inheritance or an investment opportunity. What comes up for you when it comes to receiving or asking for what you need? Are you trying so hard to maintain a sense of control that you're actually keeping out some pretty incredible blessings? Be brutally honest with yourself about the things that you're doing, the people that you are associating with that are actually detracting from your power, whether that is substances or an unhealthy relationship with food or body image or that one toxic relationship. How do you release control? That is the path to true power. This transit gives us the opportunity and might even push us to release shame, reconnect with pleasure and desire, and perhaps connect to that light that is only waiting to be discovered within the shadow. Oh, and if you're about to have Jupiter move into your 9th house, house, get ready. Ninth house transits are the best. And given the fact that you're probably a Sagittarius rising, Jupiter is going to be making a trine to that ascendant. Jupiter is going to be in the happy place of Sagittarius. Ooh, this is fun. The ninth house is where we go to figure out what we believe in. It rules over things like higher education, expansion of our mind. It's traveling. It's immersing ourselves in new experiences. Life gets so much bigger with a transit like this one if you allow it to. But then it's also going to force you to confront any fears around letting your life get bigger. Especially if you have any placements in Leo, I'm going to want to know when, where, and why did you stop believing in yourself? What's so scary about letting yourself get excited? Are you still holding your breath and waiting to be disappointed based on an experience you had earlier on? That's out. You got to get out of your own way for this one. I'm telling you, Jupiter in the ninth is here to offer the most incredible blessings and expansion of your mind. You could be traveling, you could be going back to school, you could be getting into spirituality or committing to some sort of path forward towards integrating what really fuels you. I mean, the ninth house is where we find our purpose, where we remember that life is meant to be an adventure. And if you're stuck or if you're fearful of embracing that adventure, why? Let that go. Oftentimes, the ninth house is where we go to make sense of whatever came up for us in the eighth house. Beyond just make sense of it, apply it and integrate it to the point that it becomes a part of our purpose and our legacy when we get to that 10th house. There could be this feeling of clarity that has emerged that you now want to put into practice. Be on the lookout for anything around like escapism, staying really on the go, talking, not knowing how to listen. If you continue seeking and consuming without ever integrating, this transit's going to help you take a look at that. But overall, your life gets to be as big and as rich as you allow it to. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next one.